They want to touch things, smell things, and I just want to be like home in my bed every night, you know? Or not that I don't agree with, but I just think that my choice is better. They're kind of like the weirdo freaks. They are not a sign that I typically vibe with, not like other girls. They like weird stuff. Chaos demon. Hi, I'm Sam. There's quite literally no one asking me to do this, but I woke up in a cold sweat last night and I got this idea for a video. And that idea is to analyze what I think are different book characters' zodiac signs. So some book characters, like especially really well-known books or manga, they have canonical birthdays. And in some cases I agree, but in other cases I don't agree. So I am gonna only do sun signs for today. And I don't really have a script. I probably should have written a script. I literally just have like each sign and then the character. And since we're only talking about sun signs today, we're really only scratching the surface. So this is going to be very surface level, but I think it'll still be fun. Okay, so first we're going to start with Aries. So when I think of Aries, I obviously think fiery. They are a fire sign. I think hot-headed, someone who is maybe not quick-tempered, but someone who has the capacity for unleashing quite a bit of anger. They are also one of the more sexual signs of the zodiac. Okay, it's thinking like temper, a lot of sexual presence, and strong-willed. Taurus get a lot of notoriety for being stubborn, but every Aries that I've met has also been extremely stubborn. So because of those characteristics specifically, I have chosen for my Aries, Abitha from Lᵒᵛᵉᵧ. Abitha in many ways embodies so much of what the Puritans think are like evil, and that I think really plays into why she's persecuted as a witch, even though she's really just like a strong, fiery woman who has sex appeal and opinions. Abitha is also very stubborn. She refuses to bend to the will of the village. She really never loses sight of who she is. She doesn't compromise who she is for anyone else. And she'll speak up if she doesn't agree with something that's being said or being done. So I think Abitha is an Aries. Okay, next on the list is Taurus. So I am a Taurus, that's my sun sign. So I thought that this would be easy to find, but this was one of the more difficult signs for me to find a character for. And I think that's partially because I really connect a lot with my moon and rising signs. Not to say that I don't connect with Taurus at all, but especially like books that I'm reading, I think I connect a lot more with like Scorpio and Aquarius. Tauruses are very stubborn. They kind of get a bad rap for being lazy or like not wanting to work, but I think it's just that they really appreciate and value rest. They are another very like sensual sign, but also they are one of the most loyal signs. They're an earth sign, so they can be very stubborn. They can kind of have a wall up. It can be kind of hard to get to know them, but once you do, it's kind of like, okay, you're stuck with me for life. So yeah, this one was kind of hard for me to find a character, but then I was thinking about a book I actually just read recently called Sorrow and Bliss. The more I was thinking about that book, the more I thought that the main character, Martha, embodied a lot of Taurus qualities to me. One thing that really struck me is that her family is so insufferable, but regardless, she always sticks by them. She is very loyal to them. You know, in all of her relationships, she was always really loyal. She's very blunt. I think that's another reason why I really thought that she kind of gave Taurus vibes. She's not going to sugarcoat it for you. She's going to tell you how she really feels. But then she also has these like really sweet, compassionate moments. I kind of always associate Taurus with acts of service as well. And yeah, that just kind of struck me as something very Taurian, I think. So Martha from Sorrow and Bliss as the Taurus. Okay, next we have Gemini. They get a really bad rap as being the freaking chaos demon of the zodiac. And like, it's kind of true, but like honestly, every Gemini that I've known has kind of relished the fact that they're a chaos demon. Like they kind of own it, you know? So with Gemini, I chose a character who actually has a canonical birthday as an Aquarius, which I disagree with. That character is Sang-woo from Killing Stalking. Sang-woo is the primary antagonist from Killing Stalking. He is a nasty dude. I don't know, I really don't see Aquarius that much. Immediately when I was thinking about Sang-woo, I was like, okay, I definitely see some Leo in him, but I think it's more his rising. Definitely I see some Scorpio in him too, but again, it's like, it doesn't really seem like his main persona. But then when I was thinking about kind of like the duality of Sang-woo, he's kind of like a chameleon. Like he was able able to obviously trick you and bum into thinking that he is this perfect, really amazing kind of boy next door. And that's how he acts in public. But then behind closed doors, he's this literal monster. So when I think of Sang-woo, I think of that duality and how he really easily slips back and forth between the two. And yeah, Gemini are the twins. So I think that that fits Sang-woo really well. Okay, next is Cancer. This is another character who has a canonical birthday that I don't agree with. Or not that I don't agree with, but I just think that my choice is better. Cancers are really interesting to me. Every Cancer that I've met in my life has been either like a total cherub that I love. Like my grandma's a Cancer, you know? So like, shout out grandma, hi, I love you. But I've also met some Cancers who I wasn't a huge fan of. They are a very like sensitive, emotional sign, but that can also sometimes kind of cross the line into them being really emotionally manipulative. They're like the ones who can cry on the spot and very much like victim complex, like so in tune with their emotions that they can weaponize them to kind of control people around them. But again, that all sounds very negative, but I'm kind of just building it up because of the character that I have chosen for this. But I'm really not trying to bash on Cancers. I know and love so many Cancers in my life, but it just so happens that the books that I read, I really enjoy the villains. So that's why so many of the villains are coming up. And this is another villain. So for Cancer, I have chosen Amy Dunn from Gone Girl. Her canonical birthday is sometime in Pisces season. I don't remember the exact date. I think Pisces and Cancer have a lot in common. You know, they're obviously both water signs. They're both very in tune with their emotions, very sensitive. But I think Pisces are more, they kind of swing more to like the creative, imaginative side, whereas Cancer is definitely more like they want comfort and security, and I think they can sometimes be manipulative. But I think every sign can be manipulative in their own way. It just so happens that Cancers can use sort of like their emotions to manipulate other people. So yes, Amy Dunn, I think fits that really well. She is a master manipulator. To be near Amy Dunn is to be manipulated by her. So yes, that is who I have chosen for Cancer. Okay, next is Leo. Leo's another fire sign. So they are confident, very invested in their looks. It matters a lot to them how they come off to people, how they present to people. Their image is very important to them. And despite their confidence, they can be pretty insecure. So it matters a lot to them what people think of them and how they're perceived. And if you hurt their pride, they're gonna be really, really upset. And for Leo, I have settled on Rachel, the main character from Milk Fed by Melissa Broder. So Rachel is, again, very obsessed with her looks, very obsessed with her image, how she comes off to every single person. But at the end of the day, she's very deeply insecure. She restricts her calories and obsessively works out in order to build this body that she thinks will be the best version of her physical self. So that's why I've chosen Rachel for Leo. Okay, next is Virgo. Virgo is another earth sign. They are stereotypically known as kind of the control freaks, very meticulous, organized, another kind of pretty blunt sign, but maybe in a more nitpicky way. When I think of Virgo, I think of the perfectionist, need everything to be done the right way every time, no exceptions, just a lot of strict rules, very tightly wound. That kind of energy is what I think of when I think of Virgo. So for that, I have chosen Kirie Goshima from Uzumaki, so the main protagonist from Uzumaki. Throughout the course of the entire story, Kirie is very stoic and mature. Even as the town is really like devolving into chaos, she tries very desperately to just keep her routine and her life as normal as possible. She definitely gives me Virgo vibes. Even when her boyfriend, Shuichi, starts to not do well and he's really affected by what's going on in the town, she's the one who's taking him lunches, taking him meals, checking up on him, making sure he's okay. She's kind of like the glue that keeps everyone in the story together, and she's kind of like the only source of sanity throughout the whole story. So for those reasons, I have chosen Kirie as my Virgo. Okay, next we're on to Libra. Libra is an air sign. So they're kind of similar to Leo in that they care a lot about their looks. It's less about cultivating an image and it's more about being accepted. So Libras are this zodiac sign that are most susceptible to being indoctrinated into cults because they are this sign that really craves social acceptance by their peers. And I think that they're maybe the sign that worries the most about what other people think of them. So for those reasons, I have chosen Abby from Mother Thing. So throughout the whole story, Abby is neurotically and obsessively thinking about what she can do to basically improve her marriage with her husband, but not for the sake of improving it. It's more so to get more acceptance from Ralph. You know, being married to him isn't enough. She has to be even more loved than his mother. And when she talks about her coworkers, you know, she talks about these perfect yogurt women and how she's not a perfect yogurt woman, but she desperately wants to be. And the whole story is really a lot of her spending every waking minute trying to conform to what she thinks will be the most acceptable version of herself as a woman. So for those reasons, I think that Abby is a Libra. Next is Scorpio. Scorpio is a water sign. Again, as I mentioned previously, they are sort of stereotypically known as the most sexual sign of the zodiac. If you see like a goth person, they're probably a Scorpio. Or they have Scorpio somewhere in their chart, probably in their big three. When I think of Scorpio, I think of someone who has an intimidating presence. They're very passionate, attracted to darker themes, darker aesthetics, that kind of thing. Yeah, they're kind of like the weirdo freaks of the zodiac. Like when the bus driver in The Craft is like, watch out for those weirdos. And then Nancy says, we are the weirdos, mister. That's big Scorpio vibes. For Scorpio, I have chosen Galaxy Stern from 9th house. So she's just such an outsider. Everywhere she goes, she is this dark, brooding, tatted up, moody little lady. Scorpios also, typically, they really are not trusting of anyone. It takes a long time. They might be the sign that it's hardest to break down their walls and get them to trust you. They're very private, very private. So those are two qualities that are also very much embodied in Alex, especially when she first comes to Yale. She's like, I don't trust any of these yuppies. And it takes the whole story for her to even start to trust Darlington. And I think even by the end, it's like, I can't really think of anyone else besides Darlington that I would say Alex trusts. And even though she trusts him, there is still so much of her life that she's kept private from him. Yeah, so I think Alex Stern is definitely a Scorpio. Okay, next is Sagittarius. Sagittarius was really hard for me as well because they are not a sign that I typically vibe with super well. So I don't have a lot of Sagittarius folks in my life. I guess I don't like have as much personal experience with them. They're kind of like the most restless sign. They are constantly wanting to travel, probably would love like a nomad lifestyle. People who travel with a circus, I think that kind of lifestyle would really suit Sagittarius. And I think the reason I don't vibe with that as well is because Taurus is such a homebody. I want safety, security, comfort, reliability, structure, and that's kind of like polar opposite of what Sagittarius seeks out. Very much free spirit, kind of like flying by the edge of their seat. Let's hitchhike across the country with $20 in my pocket. They want to see the world, they want to touch things, smell things, and I just want to be like home in my bed every night, you know? So I love that for you. If that's your journey, that's your journey. My journey is being home in bed every night, and that might be boring, but I love it. So for Sagittarius, I have chosen Amelia from New Animal. So even though I don't really vibe with Sagittarius typically, I did really enjoy reading from Amelia's perspective. The reason I've chosen Amelia as a Sagittarius is because she definitely does fly by the edge of her seat, or what's the phrase? Fly by the edge of her pants? Bottom of her pants? Am I saying the phrase wrong? Fly by the bottom of her seat? What's that freaking phrase? Oh my god, am I going insane? Fly by the seat of your pants. Okay, I can't remember if I said it correctly before, but she definitely flies by the seat of her pants. Again, and it's just stereotypes. This is not the case actually with every Sagittarius, but they tend to avoid responsibility, avoid dealing with the tough aspects of life. So for example, Amelia experiences a death of a really close family member and she just can't deal with it. So instead of attending the funeral, she flees and she goes to a completely different country and tries to use sex as a way to avoid her feelings and and dealing with her loss, but also like stumbling into this completely new community of BDSM and like trying that for the first time, kind of like no questions asked. And she like doesn't really give it a lot of thought. She's just like, yep, let's do it. So kind of for those main reasons, I have chosen Amelia as Sagittarius. Next is Capricorn. Capricorn is another earth sign. This was another kind of difficult one for me, which I don't know why, because I know and love a lot of Capricorns. They kind of also get a bad rap for being more like a boring, serious sign. I also associate Capricorns with the highest achieving people, constantly trying to become better. So think of like the smartest, most accomplished person in your life. That's what I think of when I think of a Capricorn, but also like extremely hard on themselves, like very self-deprecating. They're constantly just like, I could be working harder. And it's like, bro, you are a CEO, you know? And another thing is that I think Capricorn really struggles to ask for help. I think earth signs in general really struggle to ask for help, but Capricorn for sure would rather work themselves to death than ask someone for help. So for Capricorn, I have chosen Jude St. Francis from A Little Life. Jude is a very interesting character. He is very capable, very smart, very high achieving. He becomes one of the best lawyers in the city, and he also would rather die than ask for help. Even when he has these bouts of really awful chronic pain, he would rather crawl up the stairs on his hands and knees than call a friend to help him or, you know, use a mobility aid. It's not until it gets to the point where he physically just cannot walk anymore. He literally like works himself into the ground that he finally starts to accept some help. So he definitely gives me Capricorn vibes. So I've chosen Jude St. Francis as my Capricorn. Okay, next is another one from a book that I just read, and he was the first character that I was like, okay, I want to make sure he's in the list because he was such an interesting character to me. So I like started with him and then like filled the list in around him. Aquarius, another very interesting sign. So they're technically actually an air sign. People often think that they're a water sign because they're the water bearer, but they are an air sign. Them being a water bearer is very much representative of them thinking that what they're bringing to the world is very important. So when I think of Aquarius, I think of very weird. This is the friend who like wants to go looking for UFOs. They want to just weird, you know? They're not like other girls. They like weird stuff. They probably know a lot about different conspiracy theories, very niche things. Aquarius really prides themselves on being not like everyone else. They really want to be unique and different. I think that Aquarius also has no tolerance for ignorance or lack of intelligence. They have just no patience for it. They're not going to tolerate you being stupid, asking stupid questions, wasting their time. I think they have a sense of superiority because they feel like they're not like everyone else, and they work very hard to build themselves apart from the status quo. So for those reasons, I have chosen a character from a book I actually just finished a few days ago, and that is Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. So he is the main antagonist from this book, and I think he definitely embodies those characteristics that I described. He is very isolated from society. When we see him interact with other people, he has no tolerance for them asking him to repeat a question or them not being able to keep up with him. If they're not as quick on their feet as he needs them to be, or they don't have anything logical or intelligent to say, he gets so easily frustrated with them. You know, the few times we see him interacting with people, it's usually him threatening violence. I think that his cadence of speech and the way that he interacts with people really makes him seem different and very unique. So he definitely gave me a lot of like weird guy Aquarius vibes. So I've chosen Anton Chigurh. Okay, last we are on to the baby of the zodiac, and that is Pisces. So this was another kind of difficult one for me. I don't know why. My partner is a Pisces, so I obviously know Pisces pretty well, or I have a lot of personal experience with Pisces. But for this, I've chosen another character who has a canonical birthday that I do not agree with. I have chosen Rosemary Woodhouse from Rosemary's Baby. Her canonical birthday apparently is at the end of April, so that would make her a Taurus. I don't know. I guess I could like kind of see see that. Maybe she has Taurus, like maybe she's a Taurus moon or a Taurus rising, but I definitely get Pisces vibes from her. She's very in tune with her emotions. She's pretty sensitive. And I'm not saying that as a dig. Like, I think Guy Woodhouse is she's very entitled to the feelings that she feels. But what I'm saying is that as a character, she didn't shy away from those feelings. They were very like accessible for her. She was very reflective. But then she also was pretty imaginative. There were a lot of scenes of her imagining their future together. She would kind of like build this imaginary scene in her mind. She's very optimistic, even like towards the very end when she's starting to realize the truth of what's happening. She wants to see the best in everyone. She wants to believe that the good ending is going to happen. So for those reasons, I have chosen Rosemary Woodhouse as a Pisces. All right, guys, those are all 13 books that I have chosen characters from and assigned zodiac signs to. This was super freaking fun to make, so I really hope you guys like this. I love astrology. Let me know if there are any characters that you agree or disagree with. Let me know if there are any characters that you really want me to include in my next part. I already have like another list going of another group of characters that I'm kind of thinking about what their zodiac signs would be. I've also thought about maybe doing more astrology videos, like talking about like my birth chart, and maybe doing even more in-depth character zodiac analyses and talking about like what I think their sun, moon, and rising signs are. Let me know if you guys have any ideas or if there's anything you want to see. But in the meantime, you can like this video if you want, comment, subscribe if you want. I would love to have ya. And I really hope that you liked this. So I love you guys very much. Goodbye.